This is part one of a two-part interview with Lee Gillis. The interview was conducted on November 7th, 2008 in Vancouver, Washington.
Not only going to summer camp, but then working at summer camp, was that just developing all those facilitator skills. You don't realize it at the time.
Yeah, right.
But that ability to go, we had a whole day planned and it's pouring down raining and we need to plan something else right now.
Yep.
Because everybody wants to do something right now. And being able to think on your feet and work with a co-counselor or deal with the homesick kid, and I mean, to me, learning to trust the group process. My father would always just shake his head when he knew how much money I wasn't making over the summer, and it's sort of like, what are you ever going to get out of this? And I tell a lot of students is that piece about having a tremendous respect for the small group process and just a trusting in small group process that something I can't get rid of now.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in me.
And I think that is where it comes for a lot of people.
Yeah. Summer camp.
I believe.
I went to summer camp and sort of, in some ways, never looked back, not really realizing it at the time.
It's always amazing to me for how many people in the association that's the case.
Yes. So much so now that I ask students in my group in psychology classes, how many of you went to summer camp? And the ones that raise their hand, I'll say, well, you'll probably get what I'm about to say in the following. The rest of you have to learn it. I took a wilderness instructor's course in early summer of 1976 from some of these renegades out of the North Carolina Outward Bound School that had formed their own school at Wolf Creek Wilderness. And I literally drove my 65 International pickup truck from the North Georgia mountains to Broughton Hospital at the foot of Table Rock, a state hospital, and spent the summer there taking abnormal psychology and advanced abnormal psychology is a program from Davidson College. And I was really lucky in that I was able to focus on youth the whole time I was there, and I saw them in the hospital, I saw them in the school, I saw them in rec therapy. And by the grace of God, there happened to be a psychologist there that was taking kids every Wednesday rock climbing at Table Rock. And he was so thrilled that I was there that I had some training, because he'd been kind of training staff. So I got to sort of be at the first pitch and just blame kids on up. And I tell students this, I mean, to this day, something happened when those kids went on belay. And I spent my entire career just fascinated by the magic of what occurred when that something happened. Because I'd have these wonderful conversations with them, sitting at that first pitch, and they were so different than any of the conversations I could have with the same kids in those other contexts. So when I got back to school, my first part of my senior year, went on an internship at Environmental Ed Center. And oh, by the way, when I was at Wolf Creek, we'd done these things like climbing over a 12-foot wall, and the entire group's on a swinging log, and I was just fascinated. And they had this book, I'll never forget the book. It had a black and white cover, and it said, Physical Education, Adventure Curriculum. And I got this address somewhere in Massachusetts, and I wrote them a letter, asked for this book, and I get back an even stranger sounding book called Cow's Tails and Cobras. I took that book on my internship. There was all these other things that I could do. I started playing games with these kids. And my professor, being very prophetic, made me write this extensive paper. And while the people here in this room will remember this, these were the days before the internet. And you actually had to go out and find stuff. And I found that there was this whole powerful field of outdoor education. And there I got this glimpse of this group called the Association for Experiential Education, and sort of wrote off to that group and sort of became involved.
And there you were.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
What just came to mind when you said that is the gift I got. I guess would have been maybe '84 when we were the first time we were at Lake Junaluska, and I saw Rocky Kimball there, and I was just so enamored because I'd read all this stuff, and I was talking to Rocky, and he said, "Lee, you should write things down," and I went, "What?" No, you got me mistaken for somebody else. And he was like, "I'm being very serious. You should write. You should just write down the things that you were doing." And that was a gift to me. It pushed me. Fortunately, I was just starting into the doctoral program and had to do a lot of writing. But it kind of pushed me to take advantage of the ERIC system and take all these workshops and all this kind of stuff that I'd done, and I just sent it up to ERIC, and they surprisingly enough took it. And just I guess that small effort on my part had led to recognition and acceptance and invitations and things that I just never anticipated would happen. And I have I guess thousands of times I have taken what I feel like was the gift that Rocky gave me and have given that gift and given that gift and given that gift by encouraging people to write.
It's interesting that Sanford would probably tell the same story about Rocky. Yeah.
Well, it was really powerful. And I just remember being so surprised and shocked and fearful, all kind of at the same time, about writing things down and putting them out. I didn't see at the moment how that could ever happen, that I would ever do anything like that. But it was just that, I guess, the push that I needed, much like that kind of nudge you can give somebody who won't quite go over on the rappel, and they once they go over, they're finding that they're doing okay. So.
Yeah.